Welcome to BioSignals, the podcast powered by BioCrossroads, where we decode the pulse of Indiana's life sciences sector. Each episode, we bring you the innovators, breakthroughs, and bold ideas shaping the future of health and science. Welcome to the 5th episode of BioSignals. I'm your co-host, Nathan Brown. We're doing things a little differently with this episode. Instead of an external guest, we're bringing in someone internal. Mike Bolinder, Senior Vice President of External Engagement and Chief Innovation Officer here at BioCrossroads. Last month, BioCrossroads released our 2025 annual report. And in this episode, Mike and Vince are going to take a step back to reflect on that year. Together, they're going to unpack a year's worth of milestones across innovation, manufacturing, workforce, communications, and capital. 2025 was a watermark year for Indiana's life sciences ecosystem. For the first time ever, life sciences in Indiana surpassed $100 billion in economic contribution, $102 billion to be exact. We also became known as the radiopharmaceutical capital of the world, and we vastly expanded our workforce infrastructure and supports. This episode is the perfect companion piece to our annual report, and I recommend everyone take a look at it for a comprehensive look at all of the state's activities in life sciences. Now, let's listen in to Mike and Vince.
It's my pleasure to welcome Mike Bolinder. Mike, welcome to BioSignals. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Brief background. So I worked for many years in industry, got into the life sciences industry for very personal reasons. Just given our firstborn had some serious health challenges, and being two new parents and not knowing anything about medicine, man, that really affected us. So later I was sitting in a mortgage business I'd started and thought, is this really all there is to life? And if I could do something every day that, might help patients or families going through what we went through with our daughter, Kirsten, I thought maybe I'd feel better about myself when I lay my head on the pillow at night. So anyway, that led me to join the industry. I worked for Lilly for a number of years. I was always on the commercial side. I left Lilly, which I didn't think I would ever do because I really enjoyed my time there, but went to work in a startup out in San Diego. We had some pretty good success out there, transacted the company for like $1.5 billion, and then moved back to Indiana to work on a startup that was out of Europe, where we were. It was actually a company that we were looking to acquire when we were at the other company in San Diego. And it was a small team, had its fits and starts, as all startups do. And we were developing a suite of patient supportive care products for patients undergoing surgeries and chemotherapies. And ultimately ended up taking the company public. I, at some point, took over for the original founder and CEO. We got 2 drugs through the FDA approval process and built a commercial team, put our U.S. headquarters in Indianapolis, and ultimately ended up transacting that company to a larger entity, and then started working at BioCrossroads right at 3 years ago now.
Wow, 3 years. That's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, so obviously, I work here in innovation and external engagement, and have really, really enjoyed working with the team and seeing a lot of things that we set out to do come to fruition, or at least the beginnings of those things here in Indiana. So thanks for having me today. I'm excited about the conversation.
Well, you've got a tremendous background, and we're really lucky to have you here at BioCrossroads. 2025 was a really incredible year for the life science sector here in Indiana.
Yeah, tell me about it.
We marked really a great acceleration of our 10-year strategic roadmap. We crossed the $100 billion economic contribution threshold. We got the radiopharmaceutical capital of the world designation to highlight the strength of our radiopharma sector within our community. We got a new fund raised to try to fill a void of seed capital for our ecosystem. And we really got a lot of workforce and innovation programming off the ground as well. So this was a busy year for not only BioCrossroads, but also really a momentous year for the community in our sector at large. This episode really is an opportunity for you and I, Mike, to kind of not only look in the rearview mirror, but also have a forward-looking conversation about all the exciting things in front of us for 2026 and beyond. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, just listening to what you said there, I mean, it's we ought to have plenty of things to talk about in this conversation. So that's exciting. I guess the first thing is you look back at 2025. How do you think it might feel different, if at all, from prior years? And you know, we've accomplished. You listed off a few things that we've been working on, some great accomplishments, some achievements for the ecosystem. But how do you see that? Is this incremental progress? Is this real structural change and acceleration? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
yeah, I think we did a lot of foundation building, whether that be the new fund that we helped raise, Crossroads Health Ventures, whether that be the mentoring program that your team launched, Access mentoring program, the IU Lab got launched. One thing that is pretty special about our ecosystem is that we do have that full value chain here in Indiana. Perhaps even more importantly, you touched upon this in your own personal testimony, is it's even beyond the financial contribution, but also it's the impacted lives, not only within Indiana, but also on a global basis that is represented by the $102 billion as well, because that's a translation of actual products that get shipped not only across the country, but to all corners of this world, that can be said to be made in Indiana, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, we used to have a saying, at least at Lilly, that we'd talk about doing well by doing good, right? And so that was a big attraction for me into this industry. You talk about the people, the Hoosiers, 70,000 of them that all across all his various jobs that you kind of listed. The cool thing that stood out to me and was pretty amazing, the average wage has gone from 110,000 like 2 years ago to 177,000. That is 177,000 is a very, very, you can do well in doing good. And I'm curious, the 177,000, that number, what is that? How does that strike you? What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
What does it mean about the jobs that we're creating through this sector of the economy in Indiana?
Yeah, I think what it reflects is that life science jobs are knowledge-based jobs, and therefore only reiterates the importance of our educational system in the state to make sure that we are investing in education, whether it be K through 12, whether that be college, and then even adult lifelong learning as well. Because in order to be able to continue to really host high-value jobs within the state, it's going to require a well-trained, educated, and continuously trained and upskilled workforce, whether that be on the science side, on the invention side, whether it be manufacturing side, or on the distribution side, right? So it's going to require that kind of continued investment in human capital, because at the end of the day, when you know this so well, one of the first questions that a company asks when they are considering Indiana is like, where will the people that I need, where will the smart, hardworking people that I need come from? And so I think the good news is we've got a great answer to that we can dive into a little later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, we say it may sound trite, but people are the key to everything that we do, right? And
Absolutely.
So my favorite stat in all of the stats has been, for the last several years, many years now, we've been the number one state that in manufacturing and exporting pharmaceutical products. But last year, the year before last, but last year we started announcing that we had overtaken California to be the number one state in manufacturing and exporting all life sciences products. I'm excited that again this year we still have that number one spot in all life sciences products. But that to me is a continuation of momentum. How do you look at those numbers, and what What do you see in
It's
that?
continued growth in some really key areas that have, from my perspective, a lot of runway yet to grow. Whether that be, the integrin therapies are clearly a big driver of this growth. Having both Lilly and Novo, which are the number one and number two developers and manufacturers of those integrin therapies. We're just beginning to scratch the tip of the iceberg on that as additional indications come online for those therapies beyond diabetes and obesity, but in other areas as well. That I think the runway for growth is exciting there. And then also the other area that is having tremendous growth is in radiopharmaceuticals. That's growing on a smaller base, but still has a significant growth rate, and I think it has a significant CAGR growth rate going forward, and that will serve as additional fuel for that growth. And I think just Indiana's well positioned from there's a big movement of reshoring and manufacturing to the U.S.
I think I always like those numbers because they come as a bit of a surprise for a lot of folks. You're like, what? Number one,
Yeah.
like not California, not New Jersey, not New York, not Massachusetts or North Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah. So I always love those numbers.
You're listening to BioSignals, the podcast powered by BioCrossroads. Now, let's listen in to Mike and Vince.
We have, 4 pillars, right, of our sector strategy that got launched in January 2024. And, we've been really, I think, as an ecosystem, really focused on building those pillars. And, your role as Chief Innovation Officer here at BioCrossroads are a key leader in driving this innovation pillar. So maybe talk with me about this new mentoring program that you and your team launched, Mike, in 2025.
The Access program has been at the heart of a lot of the work that we've been doing around innovation. And in fairness, Access is a program that it takes a methodology from MIT in Boston. They have this venture mentoring service model that we've adopted and was implemented actually quite a few years ago. Started at BioCrossroads. It went to the IBRI for a while. And we did pick that back up last year and have been trying to rework and revitalize. We tweaked a few things, but the basis essentially what Access is it is a mentorship program to help leadership or founders of startup companies to get the guidance and support that they need in that very, very difficult journey of bringing something from an idea to the patient bedside or to the patient, right? It's such a challenge. And I think by calling it a mentorship program, which is truly what it is, it might undersell it a little bit, because oftentimes when I think about a mentor relationship, I think of sort of one-on-one. We're going to pair you with somebody who, has been around for a while, a little long in the tooth, and can help you with, this, that, or the other, and give you some career advice. What Access really is it is essentially forming a bit of an advisory board, almost like a board of directors for this company, so a little advisory board. And the idea is to try to fill out areas of expertise that the founder or leader of that organization, they might be a scientist by training, or they might be a commercial person by training, but most of us are not, as much as we try, are not really jacks of all trades, right? And so having experts either in, legal matters, intellectual property, or experts in commercialization, experts in regulatory pathways and what that's going to look like, can help, let's say, a scientist founder who is trying to bring this great idea, this new invention forward. Surrounding them with folks who've got the been there, done that badge, they've done this before, and can give them some of that guidance is absolutely, absolutely critical. I mean, you and I were in industry for many years, and one of the most important things you can have is good guidance. I know the guidance and the networking and everything that we were able to take from, our board of directors or whatever, that's what we're essentially helping to infuse into these startups to really help accelerate their growth and help them bring those things forward.
That's great. It's one mentee to three mentors, right? So it's kind of creates that surround sound,
Yes. Yes.
perspective that creates, I think, a much richer experience and beneficial experience for the mentees. Let's maybe pivot to another key development in our ecosystem, the launch of IU Lab,
Oh, yeah.
the launch accelerator for biosciences, over $120 million grant from the Lilly Endowment that's helping fund the creation of this asset. Maybe talk about how you see IU Lab and its role in the larger innovation ecosystem that we're building together.
Yeah, I mean, to the point that you just made, IU Lab, tremendous investment in the future of innovation here in Indiana, right? It's a significant undertaking. We're, as you know, thrilled to be a part of that team that is helping to bring this forward. I think it can't be understated that investment, not just in capital, but in foresight of saying this is what we're trying to develop here. And I think it'll be critical with regard to building this infrastructure. We just talked a little bit about the Access Mentorship Program, and again, I said it's been the heartbeat or the foundation of a lot of what we've been doing around innovation. And we're doing a lot of things to support IU Lab and their efforts, along with the other partners, whether that be Generator or Plug and Play or others in the ecosystem. But we're using a lot of the foundational innovation programs that we're establishing and getting up and running as sort of that ongoing support. So as folks come through the IU Lab program, they go through these either pre-accelerator or accelerator programs. We're both trying to provide some mentorship and guidance, direction, networking, using our contacts as we're doing that. But for those that want to continue on, and certainly those that are local here in the ecosystem, we're able to use that as a feeder into that Access Mentorship Program and really provide that ongoing, longer lasting support. So those two things kind of work hand in hand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what I think is cool about IU Lab is, instead of waiting for a building to be built and then standing up programming, the IU Lab in partnership with its partners and Generator, Plug and Play, and ourselves at BioCrossroads, they've really jumped in and said, we're not going to wait for the steel and the glass to go up.
Yeah.
We're going to bring value to the ecosystem even before the building. So, lots of big kudos out to the IU Lab team for that initiative.
Absolutely.
And then another kind of innovation-focused effort that you're involved with is the BioCan grant program through the Heartland BioWorks Tech Hub. Has really two different components of it, right? One is BioTrain, which is really a training initiative, and then the other is BioLaunch, which is really for innovation purposes. And then kind of nested with underneath BioLaunch is this BioCan grant program. So maybe tell the audience what is the BioCan grant and what's its objective and who should be interested in participating.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's another, talk about major investment in the future of Indiana and our ecosystem here. This EDA Tech Hub was $51 million. It was the largest Tech Hub grant in the country. And we, again, are excited to partner with ARI on the Heartland BioWorks and all the other, stakeholders and partners from the ecosystem. But a component of that 51 million, there is the BioCan grant program that you were asking about, and that is essentially there's been $9 million over the 5 years earmarked to go towards helping provide non-dilutive funding to startups, in particular those that will inure benefit to the Indianapolis, central Indiana area. And so this is it's an exciting program where we've run a couple of grant cycles now, and it's really neat to see the applicants that are both coming in from here locally, but also from around the country. And we're excited to be able to provide the help. And the idea of that whole program is to say, we've got to strengthen manufacturing. How do we really tip the scales and make this, uh, a global leader in the manufacturing, in particular of these biopharmaceuticals? And so that's what that's about.
Probably the next pillar I'd like to cover briefly is the manufacturing pillar that you also helped spearhead. Last year, we got the radiopharmaceutical capital of the world designation from the United States Patent and Trademark Office. How do you see this designation being utilized by either our, BioCrossroads or members of the radiopharmaceuticals kind of community here that you help convene on a quarterly basis?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, kudos to you in bringing that forward and getting that trademarked. Um, I think what we have here in Indiana is really special, in particular here in the radiopharma world. I mean, we have seen this convergence and growing, this growing momentum around companies in the radiopharmaceutical space that are locating here for a confluence of issues, or driving factors, right? One, you've got Purdue, the largest by far radiopharmacy program in the country. So there's tons of talent. You've got lots of FDA savvy talent here. You've got the logistics. These things are the logistics infrastructure. These things are like often described as melting ice cubes. And so being able to, because they have an effective life sometimes of maybe a day and a half, sometimes even shorter than that. So how do you get these to the patient and have them manufactured right in time for that patient's appointment and get it to them while it's still effective? Is a real, is a real trick. And because of where we're located, we're a 12-hour drive from 80% of the population in North America. We have the second largest FedEx hub in the world right here. We've seen this growing cluster. But before we even had the designation, I mean, we had people calling us from Europe, from all over the place saying, you guys have this crazy, awesome radiopharmaceutical cluster that's growing there. How do we become a part of that? How can we partner with you? How can we work together on these things? And so I think really we were able to put a name on something that had, materialized kind of spontaneously. And what we've tried to do over the last few years is we've created this working group to try to say, how do we foster that growth, and how do we continue to throw gas on that fire and continue the momentum of everything that we've got going on there? So I think that moniker is really helping us with being able to continue to spread the word on Central Indiana.
Yeah, gives us something to rally around, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the last piece I'd like to cover with you is just the workforce pillar. Two things kind of jump out at me when we think about how we advance the ball on workforce and talent development. One is our friends at Heartland Bioworks secured the exclusive license to the curriculum from the National Institute of Bioprocessing Research and Training, which is an institute out of Dublin, Ireland, which is globally recognized as really the gold standard for training. And now that we've got the exclusive license for their curriculum for a 5 or 6 state region here, I think that's pretty transformative to really establish Indiana as a center of excellence on a regional basis, if not a national basis, for life science manufacturing training. And then a second thing I'm really excited about on the talent side is the launch of our INCAP, the Indiana Career Apprenticeship Pathway, where we're playing a key role with other partners in importing from Switzerland their robust apprenticeship program to deliver work-based training and education experiences to high school students. BioCrossroads plays the role of serving as the convener for employers in not only healthcare and in life sciences. When you hear about all of this workforce development investments and activity, what does that mean in terms of our ability to attract companies?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on this a little bit earlier in the conversation, just the importance of the talent piece. And we've also talked about the fact that, our manufacturing has been growing by leaps and bounds, number one in the country, right? The challenge with that is you gotta have the people to be able to turn the crank, if you will, to produce to produce those products, and we've got to keep up with the pace of growth, and our growth has just been so tremendous. So how do we do that? And how do we, as we try to keep up with the growth, how do we establish, like we said before, the foundation and be able to lay the foundation so that we can keep that? So the couple things you got to do: one, you got to be able to reskill or upskill workers to be able to fill those needs, and that's where I think NIBRT plays a tremendous role. And it was so um, I don't want to keep using the word exciting, but it was very exciting for us to be able to do that through the Heartland Bioworks project, because NIBRT, as you said, it's the gold standard. I mean, companies from all over the U.S., major pharma companies like the one I used to work for, send their folks for NIBRT training continually. To be able to be that NIBRT affiliate and to be that regional representative here for the Midwest in multiple states is going to pay dividends, and again be part of that foundation building that we're doing, not just to solve the short-term need, but to solve the longer-term need. The other piece, speaking of longer-term need, is what you were talking about with the Swiss apprenticeship model, the change in the Indiana diploma and pathway through NCAP, to be able to help identify talent at very early ages, beginning in, middle school, high school ages, that kids start getting exposed to what we're doing and what's available to them, is incredibly important to build those talent pipelines. So we've got a lot of work to do and a long ways to go on this, but we are building these key foundations to be able to have the talent, which is absolutely the number one most important thing when anybody's looking at putting a site somewhere.
So, Mike, one final question we ask of all guests is, what's one or two technologies or innovations that you are really excited about? You think it's going to be transformative for healthcare and medicine going forward?
When I think about technologies, I think we touched on this earlier. Radiopharmaceuticals, that technology for me is just so amazing. The ability to deliver radiation and pinpoint delivery right to the cancer cell, and be able to irradiate cells without really affecting the other cells around the cancer, is just, I think and it's amazing when you see the results that they've shown. You can see the scans. Here's the patient before therapy, here's the patient after therapy, and it is night and day. I mean, they're absolutely eliminating that cancer and doing it in such an amazing and unique way, that I think that technology, you touched on it earlier, that it will be transformative. Right now, you've only got, a therapy or two that are approved, but as you see many more come online and then many more indications for those therapies, I think it'll be absolutely transformative for cancer care.
Yeah, because today I think the foothold, right, is in prostate cancer, but I think every solid tumor is fair game for this technology, and so it's super exciting as
That's right.
goes beyond prostate. Um,
What about you? I mean, what are the technologies that really get you excited, or you're really excited about the future for?
yeah, it's also in the realm of precision medicine, just like radiopharmaceuticals is, but it's not in oncology, but it's in neurodegenerative disease.
Mm.
I think it's a super, I've been in my career, I've been very involved in bringing precision medicine into oncology through a biomarker informed approach, leveraging diagnostics to drive earlier diagnosis and screening to therapy selection and therapy response monitoring. I think that then delivers better outcomes for patients. I think that opportunity now is beginning to open for diseases like Alzheimer's, where we can identify, screen Alzheimer's in a non-invasive way, understanding the disease biology of Alzheimer's, that it's not just one disease, but perhaps has multiple pathways, multiple biomarkers. And that's just going to really open up lots of avenues for better outcomes, better therapeutic interventions, earlier therapeutic interventions. And I think down the road, you're going to see a big portfolio of potential therapeutic options for patients of Alzheimer's disease. And it's not going to be, it's not one disease, it's multiple diseases, right? And so just like we know cancer is not one disease, but it's a multiple number of diseases. So I think that's what I'm excited about. We're really at the dawning of a new age for biomarker-informed precision medicine for neurodegenerative disease. So,
Right.
and Indiana's well positioned to be a leader in that. So
It really is exciting.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike, we covered a lot of ground. 2025 was indeed a very busy and productive year for the life science community here. And I think a lot of amazing initial seeds were planted. And I think 2026 is all about nurturing and growing those seeds into more robust, scaled programs. So super excited to continue to partner with you to do that, and the rest of the team and all of our amazing partners that we get the privilege to work with every day. So thanks so much for joining us and giving us a little bit of a 12 months look back, and then a little bit of a peek on what we're going to be focused on going forward. So
Absolutely.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
For more information about BioCrossroads, our events, programs, and how you can get involved, please visit biocrossroads.com.